Well, I think that Hamas wanted to show that it has still the ability to be able to sow terror and fear among Israelis. They no longer represent or present to Israel the same threat and the magnitude of what it was back on October 7 a year ago, and what led to that horrific massacre where 1,200 people were murdered in the most brutal of ways known to mankind, another 251 people taken hostage to Gaza, and this war that has embroiled Israel and I would say the wider region in the year since. It's hard to imagine that it's already been a year, but I wouldn't be overly concerned by the rockets, but I am concerned about the fact that still a year later, we are still a country at war. Israel is continuing to operate in southern Lebanon and is sending more forces in there as reinforcements, with the basic idea of being it has to continue to clear out those areas that are along the border, of which Hezbollah had turned into a terrorist fortress and had amassed arms, very sophisticated weapons, has tunnels, some descending 30, 40 meters into the rock, some of them even being close to cross already into Israel. This was the nature of what Hezbollah had created along the border and why 70,000 Israeli citizens had to flee and evacuate their homes and have not been living in their homes for the last year. To be able to get these people back home, these areas have to be cleared out of any Hezbollah terrorist threat. And that takes time. That takes more soldiers, and these operations will continue. The question will be, though, when you're done as a military and you basically say, okay, I've cleared out as much as I think I can, what happens then? What is the going to ensure that Hezbollah does not return and rebuild? Well, we've known for years that the Dahia, this neighborhood in Beirut, is something of a Hezbollah stronghold. For I would say the last 20 plus years, it's not a place that you want to walk around in at night alone, right? This is a terrorist center, and it's where Hezbollah leaders live. It's where Hezbollah has its main offices. It's where Hezbollah has its main command and control centers. Some of them, as we know, are deeply dug underground in bunker networks, the likes of which were destroyed to kill the leader of Hezbollah a couple weeks ago, Hassan Nasrallah, and some of the other top officials of the terrorist organization. So there are the command centers, there are weapon storage centers, and there are apartments that are used, safe houses, we can call them, for some of the other top terrorists. Israel is hunting after each and every one of them. And Israel is doing its utmost to keep the pressure on Hezbollah that it should feel that no one there is safe and no one is immune. This is part of the Israeli strategy to keep a very quick, fast-paced rhythm, not to give Hezbollah the opportunity to reconstitute and rebuild itself and be able to launch significant attacks against the Israeli home front. The threat definitely remains, and they still have a significant capability. I mean, we went into this war with Hezbollah, with the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, saying that Hezbollah has anywhere from 100 to 150,000 rockets and missiles, most of them short range. Most of them can strike, let's say, Haifa north, which is about 40, 50 kilometers from the border into Israel. There are longer range capabilities, those that could strike in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and even beyond down south into the Negev desert. That is what the IDF has also been really focusing its efforts on, and trying to deny Hezbollah the more advanced capability in what you could call the PGMs, the precision guided munitions. But in wars like this, David, and we see it also with Gaza, we spoke earlier just now about the fact that Hamas was able to fire off a few rockets today symbolically to mark their side of the October 7th attack. They will always have rockets. They will always have weapons. You will never end the war where you'll be able to say, I got every single one of them, because it's just virtually impossible to be able to do that unless you are deciding that you are going to completely occupy these places and go door to door and hunt them down for years, if not longer, to come. And that's not something that Israel wants to do. It's difficult to accurately know when an Israeli response would come. Israel has been very clear, though, that it does plan to respond. And the IDF even put out a rare statement on Saturday saying that it's preparing a significant retaliation to the Iranian barrage of 180 long-range ballistic missiles that struck Israel. Some of them, most of them intercepted, but about 20, 30 of them actually striking inside military bases and nearby other strategic installations. So this threat has to be eliminated, and Iran has to be taught a lesson that it cannot continue to do this. This is already the second time. Iran in total has fired over 500 projectiles and drones at Israel since April. This is something that no country should have to tolerate and no country should accept. The question, though, is why has Israel not yet responded? This happened already about a week ago. And I think that the answer might be in the fact that Israel recognizes that any strike against Iran, depending on what it's going to be, if it's going to be something small and symbolic, that it can easily do on its own. But if it's going to be something bigger, it does require a significant level of coordination with specifically its American allies and CENTCOM, the Central Command of the United States military, but also between the White House in Washington and the Prime Minister's office in Jerusalem. There needs to be a level of coordination that needs to be higher or deeper than what we've seen in the past. We've seen this, by the way, in the 2007 strike that Israel carried out against Syria's nuclear reactor. Also, then, when you're dealing with the scope and the nature of this type of threat, it really requires an intimate level of understandings that are reached between, Israel and the Americans. And it could be that that's what is holding things up, is just ironing out those issues, getting everyone on the same page, and then maybe we'll see something happen.